Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X researcher and professional physicist. And today I'd like to talk to you about another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X Now Trapped in the Inner Solar System. Now on August 20th, 2017, the following image appeared on LASCO C2, and that is the C2 coronagraph. And this object had the familiar cross pattern associated with Planet X. As you can see, the objects around it made the shape of a cross. And this object appeared again in another image. This is a stereo A Core 2 image. And again, there was this bright object, and there were these objects that appeared to be moving with it, and again these objects were in a cross pattern. So this image was from August 20th. This was from September 7th, and this is one of the images where this object could be seen with these objects moving with it. It's not quite the same image. And this one was caught by Scott CO, and he was the one that observed this, and I'm just using his image. Now this cross pattern has been associated from historical records with Planet X, and Planet X is, and I've written about this before, supposed to be a star, probably a brown dwarf star, but that hasn't quite achieved the point where it only emits infrared light. It's still hot enough to emit red light. So it has this cross pattern that we observe here and in the LASCO C2 image. But this is one of the images where we could see the object, and this is a very strange image because the sun went from being from the corona being quite visible to parts of it becoming dark like this. And what could possibly have happened? I think a flash of light from either sun, or probably more likely from another object, probably in south part of the image. As you can see, the sun's light emission is quite subdued here. It does not appear to be as bright, so that could be due to a star appearing in the detector and emitting such a bright light, and it seems to flash actually, because this kind of image appears several times in the whole images that are available, or in the video that we can play from these images. However, this object, which is our object of interest, remains reasonably bright, quite bright. So it shows that it's a light source and it emits a bright light. And this is the object again. This is a little bit later, and this is on September 8th, so the following day, and we can see it's approaching the sun, and it's even brighter then. And then we see it after it's gone behind the occulter and emerges again. And in this image, we actually looks like the sun is having a CME, and it's ejecting plasma right towards this object. The object appears to actually be enveloped in plasma from the sun. And this is on September 10th. And the fact that it's enveloped in plasma and it's extremely bright shows that it cannot be a planet. It's actually a star, even though we are led to believe that it's Mercury. And it seems to follow an orbit that could be associated with Mercury. But as we can see, this object cannot be Mercury, and the sun would not be ejecting plasma towards it if it was Mercury. This just does not happen with a planet. And then the object was seen previously on June 16th. We can see it here. It's the same object. Again, we are led to believe that it's Mercury. But as we can see, it cannot possibly be Mercury. It has these huge plasma ejections, and these are the ejections that these objects usually have with others other stellar cores. These are usually brown dwarf stars or stellar cores that interact electrically with other objects in the environment. And as you can see, this is exactly the same object, and here having several flashes in several directions, or ejections, plasma ejections. So here is a close-up of that, and as we can see again, this is not just a straight line. There are quite a few colors in it. It seems to be spiraling, as we would expect a Birkeland current to do. This cannot be attributed to a cosmic ray. In the detector, this is this object actually ejecting plasma away from itself towards another object. And we can see that these dark areas around it, these appear to be stellar cores. This is the usual structure associated with them, the dark center with a ring-like structure surrounding them, which is their ionizing envelope that all stars have. But these objects, that envelope is toroidal in shape, and the core is usually visible through the side of it, so the donut hole through the toroid. Toroid is basically a donut shape. But now this object therefore seems to was there in June, is back in September. It does seem to have an 88-day period, which is what Mercury has, but it cannot be Mercury, so it must have an orbit with a semi-major axis close to Mercury's. It's probably elliptical, but it does seem to go very close to the Sun. So Mercury's orbit has a radius of about 0.4 AU, so this object would have a semi-major axis close to that. But this object was seen before, and this is from images in core B, in core 2b. This is from Stereo Behind in 2007, and we see exactly the same object, but this time it approaches the Sun, and we can see a strong reaction from the Sun. It seems to explode outwards, increase in size suddenly as the object approaches it. And I wrote an article about this. It is in my list of videos and articles about this object being there in August of 2007. It is exactly the same. As you can see, this cannot be a planet. A planet cannot elicit this kind of response from the Sun. The Sun actually seems to go dark in the southern hemisphere. And this shows that this is the type of reaction that these objects can have on the Sun. It can actually go dark. And these are images from September 6, and we can see the large objects that are now close to the Sun. This is one of them. We can see it here moving away from the Sun. As you can see, it's closer to the Sun here than it is over there. And this is a time difference of 15 minutes. The same object is there as well, and this object has been made visible by the CME that the Sun ejected at the time, and the plasma seems to actually cling to it. This is what happens with all of these stellar cores, or these old stars that have congregated around the Sun. But these large ones seem to elicit an even more of an unstable response from the Sun. So our Sun has become unstable due to the presence of these huge stellar cores, and such as we can see in this image before. And this is because they interact magnetically with the Sun. This interaction pulls on the Sun's magnetic field, and that leads to the formation of coronal holes, and those were the responses that we saw for a while. However, nowadays what we are seeing is that when there is this interaction with sunspot groups, that the magnetic fields lead to this occurrence of huge solar flares in CMEs. And so they are causing the Sun to become unstable. And for years we saw the Sun getting increasingly drained of energy and quiet, and now it's acting in a different way. And this is possibly because it has been drained to the point that it may be entering into the red giant phase, because this seems to be what happens to stars when they enter the red giant phase. They start to expand, they start to have trouble holding on to their surface plasma. And so this is possibly what is happening to the sun. And I've written articles showing that these objects have been in the sun's corona since 1996, so for 21 years. And this particular object, which we are led to believe is Mercury, but obviously cannot be Mercury, has been there at least since 2007. Now, the fact that it elicited such a strong response in 2007, but not in 2017. At least we didn't see it. We see it rather, the sun react to the very large stellar cores that seem to probably have arrived at the sun more recently. Now, this could mean that the orbit of this object, and it does seem to be in orbit, I repeat, around the sun, it does not seem to belong with the sun, though, because it's not Mercury. So it must have arrived at some time, but it seems to have been there already in 2007. And we can look at the signs of what's happening with the Earth as well, that our magnetosphere, it seems to be under severe and increased pressure, and that our ionosphere is severely ionized, and it does not seem to be getting a long enough breaks between assaults, and this is due to the increased solar activity elicited from the sun by these stellar cores. And the constant geomagnetic storm conditions and visible aurorae are signs of this. The Corona Observatory is showing almost daily significant disruption of the Earth's magnetic field, and this indicates that our magnetosphere is under severe pressure. And we see in the figure below, this is data from the Corona Observatory, so it's due to the magnetic disturbance observed there. And this indicates a G3 class geomagnetic storm associated with a K7 index. And this is from September 16, 2017. On that same day, spaceweather.com reported an occurrence of G1 and G2 geomagnetic storms, and that was based on a NOAA forecast. But as you can see, it was not as strong as what the Corona Observatory reported. So I've been looking at this for a while, and I believe that NOAA and similarly USGS is underreporting these events, possibly to try and avoid panic, but it's not telling us a true picture of what is happening with our planet. And I believe that people should have the chance to know the truth. So, in conclusion, Planet X appears to be in the inner solar system right now, and to have been here for at least 10 years. But the signs are that something, and possibly this object, amongst others, is significantly affecting the sun, and through the sun, and possibly also directly, our planet. This is leading to significant increase in earthquake activity and volcanic activity. I spoke about this in my previous article, as well as the strange tidal activity. The earthquake activity can be directly connected to the increased solar activity as a result of the old stars or stellar cores or brown dwarf stars close to the sun, but the tidal activity does not seem to be associated to earthquake activity and can only be due to an object being close to the Earth. So a further increase in the observed trend is likely to lead to planetary-wide cataclysmic events in the near future. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.